Ah, good evening and welcome to Having a Drink with Mink. I'm your host, Jason Molpers, or Mink. I was just getting caught up on my reading here. That's right, it's a magazine based on Universal Pictures' 1956 film, The Mole People. You know it, baby. Starring John Agar, Hugh Beaumont, and Nestor Paiva as The Load. And it also features Alan Napier in a pre-Alfred Batman role taking over the subterranean world. Now, the Mole People is a pretty fun little property as far as Universal things go, their monster line. The Mole Folk, well, they're not as aggressive or violent as some of the other monsters. In fact, they're pretty passive when it comes right down to it, but they do have a great visual, and 3 times out of 4, well, that's what it's all about. 5 out of 7, Larry? Larry assures me 7 out of 10. But when it comes right down to it, we're getting all warmed up for the MEGO Mole Person. Now, this is a Walmart exclusive. It comes in this nifty little retro-style box. That is correct. MEGOs have recently been coming on these Kino blister cards. As you can see, we also have a Joker here to take a look at. And you can also see we have a naked Woody Harrelson. He's making the scene as well. So we got 3 mans for, well, you're not going to pay anything this time. Let's just consider the first one free, kid. But we're going to crack this guy on open. Stabby Joe is here to assist us. Let's make it happen. Gonna open this little box here, try and take care of it because, well, the packaging is pretty nifty as far as it goes. I like to keep my action figures loose and on the shelf, but when you get something like this, well, maybe it's worth hanging on to, not immediately throwing into the recycle bin. So he comes in this nice little cardboard case. Then there's a plastic insert to keep him standing on up. Nice and straight because you want your mole person to have great posture. Absolutely. And here he is. Now, the mole person is, I believe, on the standard contemporary MEGO body, and that's what pretty much all their figures are on. But he does have what appear to be newly sculpted hands and a newly sculpted head. Another difference is you'll note that this fellow has a prodigious hump, whereas this guy does not. Now, we know that MEGO can do humps because we've seen their Igor figure from the Young Frankenstein where they put one of Joe Namath's footballs in the back of the figure shirt, and that allowed you to shift the hump around just like you did in the film, which was phenomenal. That was a great choice on MEGO's part, but I guess, well, they didn't have Joe Namath football money this time out. Nonetheless, this guy makes for a great figure. You'll note that his color scheme is very different. He's very greenish, sort of a pickly color, whereas this fellow, well, he's very earth-toned, if you will. As far as outfits go, this is more of a monstery outfit with the shredded arms and legs, sort of a worker's outfit, as you would find. These guys are workers in the film. The 2004 Sideshow effort, on the other hand, looks like he's about to play Shea Stadium. Better get him a Hofner bass. But as far as it goes, I was really happy to add this guy to the MEGO collection. As you know, I'm all in on those MEGO figures, and so, hey, the more the merrier. Apparently MEGO's also done this fellow in the classic earth tones, so, well, 3 mole people. That's plenty, isn't it? Maybe. We'll see. All right, what next? Well, we've got the Joker. As you can see, Joker comes to us on the standard blister pack card. So we don't really need Stabby for this one. You can just kind of grab these gently but firmly from the bottom. I'm not really interested in preserving the card on this guy. I just want to get him out of the package, and oh dear, he's fallen onto the floor. All right, well, let's check the quality control on these new figures. And hey, he seems to have survived that 3-foot drop. Excellent. Now, MEGO reacquired the DC license a year or so back, and ever since then they've been delivering some very cool figures. We not only receive classics like the Joker and Batman, but long-awaited fan favorites like Green Lantern and the Flash. Unlike the original MEGO Joker, whose outfit featured screen-printed elements, this new version has a fully tailored suit, shirt, vest, jacket, and pants. He's also got his bowler tie and nice little details like the shirt cuffs showing from under the sleeves of his jacket. A very pronounced collar, if you want to funk it up, if he's going out on a Friday night. And he's got a dynamite head sculpt. Now, the head sculpt from the original MEGO Joker is an absolute classic. I would never argue that point, but if you don't have that figure, and I don't, well, this guy is an acceptable substitute in the short term at the very least. This is a great little head sculpt. It has a very superpowers-y feel. Well, actually, it has a very Phyllis Diller-y feel. And who knows, when maybe I get that classic Joker, I'll convert this guy into Phyllis Diller. Anything is possible. So he is fun. I'll be putting him up on my classic MEGO shelf because he's so nice. He deserves it. Absolutely. Okay, what next? Well, we have some comic books to show you. Yes, we do. We're going to begin with Soft Boy. Archer Prewitt's Soft Boy comes to us from 1997 and features this strip, which pretty much sums up my relationship with the world right about now. Then it's a copy of the Tijuana Bibles, and I believe this is volume 3, yeah, book 3. This was a fun little run from Starhead Comics. This was produced in Canada, and ordinarily I don't go for the pervy stuff, but I tell myself this is classic literature, and I should have it in a collection. Absolutely. Then what do we have? It's The House of Frightenstein, and I wasn't really sure what this was all about. It was classic tales of horror, so I felt obligated to pick it up, especially because the price was great. Oh, I see. Here's the classic cover. That's what threw me. Very nice. And speaking of cool covers, this one really caught my eye as I was flipping through the bins. Where? At Ides Comics and Entertainment in downtown Pittsburgh, who recently put out a whole ton of fantastic indie books in their dollar bins. That's where I found all of these. So if you like this kind of stuff, well, you would do well to head on down there and check it out. This is Threshold of Reality, and what a creepy and atmospheric cover, huh? Can't really say much for the book itself, as I haven't read it yet, but, well, I figured for $1, I couldn't go wrong. Speaking of not going wrong, how about Charles Burns' Black Hole? Black Hole is a 12-issue limited series released between 1995 and 2005. I remember the series when it first came out, but somehow I always missed them. An odd little story, but some stunning art. Here we have some Ratfink's comics starring Ratfink and his friends. And this is a jam comic. It features art from a number of different creators. But we do have Ed Big Daddy Roth contributing some classic Ratfink art on the back. So that alone made this book well worth purchasing. And then what do we have? It's Doofus! And I don't know a thing about this, but it had that underground comics feel that I just felt that was well worth investigating for sure. Might be a bit sordid, it might not be the kind of thing that ordinarily I go for, but, sometimes you got to play to win, right? And then we have, speaking of playing to win, it's Good Girl Art Quarterly. These are Betty books, and this is from the company that brought you FemForce, spring of 1992, and this was a fun little collection. Worth it for the back cover alone. Am I right, folks? And then we're going to shift to the classics with Gustav Dor's Books of the Apocrypha. And this is a wild little publication because it reprints Dor's paintings and some pretty interesting text as well. Larry, can we see some of that? Stunning stuff. And then, oh, yeah, if you know me, well, I'm always on the hunt for some Marvel tales, and I started picking these up after I filled the run in from 1 to 137, and they began reprinting them again, because these have some interesting little variations that are, well, worth having in my collection, for sure. This is a great little issue, not only for the introduction of longtime Spidey foe Kraven the Hunter, but for this wonderful scene of Kraven's trap, attaching little bells to Spidey's wrist and ankles that make jingly sounds to prevent the web-slinger from hiding. Now, I don't buy a lot of contemporary books, and, well, I think this book was from about 10 years ago, so probably not even all that contemporary, but it's Batman's Hidden Treasures, featuring art by Bernie Wrightson. Pretty thrilled to find this because I'm a big fan of Jim Starlin and Bernie Wrightson's The Cult, and so any time that I have the opportunity to revisit that mood and ambiance, well, I'm all in, for sure. We have a little more Batman, and this is the beginning of the saga of Ra's al Ghul. And back in the early 80s, DC was reprinting these on funkier paper and charging you a little bit more, but well worth it because they didn't have any advertisements. So can't go wrong. Anytime I find these, I make it a point to pick them up. Here's an issue of The Shield from Archie Comics, an everyman hero in the 1960s Marvel mold. When it comes to cash, The Shield makes Peter Parker look like Nelson Rockefeller. Here are some Wally Wood Sally Forth strips in a nice little reprint volume, and due to its nakedy nature, well, the cover is all I can show you. Ditto for these two reprints of Wood's Cannon strip from the 1970s. There's a lot of talk about the strip being about the Cold War and espionage, but it's really just an excuse for Wood to once again draw more gravity-defying breasts. The covers are all I can show you. We wrap the Wood run with this issue of Horny Toads, which I know nothing about, but hey, it looked fun. Speaking of Wally Wood, this issue of Death Rattle features work from Rand Holmes, who is often referenced for his Woodian pencils. Dig this shot of Satan from the story Slide, Sinner Slide. Wild stuff. Back in the 1990s, Dark Horse did Herbie fans a favor by reprinting those classic comics, which are a little pricey today. Me? Well, I just love to read them. Now out of my way before I bop you with my lollipop. Here's a book that reprints some wonderful Matt Baker romance art. And check out this public service announcement. Love can be dishonest. Preach, Matt, preach. Here's a mid-run Badger for the collection. Now I have all the early issues, so these are always a welcome addition to the pile. Next up, how about some Spicy Tales? You know you want 'em. Classic tales of pre-code adventure and action, as you like it. Here's another Herbie reprint, this time from A+ Comics, and it's in black and white. Multiple Herbies. Better scram. Then we have some nifty DC reprints of Tower Comics, Thunder Agents. Now, I always try and pick up those Tower back issues when I can find them, but, well, they're growing rarer and rarer as the days pass, and so to be able to find a nice copy of some of these early stories printed on high-quality paper, why not, I ask you? And then we have Anti-Hitler Comics. Here he is. The Fuhrer himself. It is your Fuhrer, Hauser. Do you really think you can escape me? I came back from hell for you. Aye, help, Karl Hans, help! This is Anti-Hitler or Pro-Hitler Comics? I have to check it on out. And then here's New England Comics, Tales Too Terrible to Tell. And these are fabulous publications from the 1990s. They reprint some pre-code horror, and they also give you some great cover galleries, checklists, and articles that talk all about these tales that you can't get enough of. I know that I can't. Here's another New England Comics publication. It's Extinct. There is no romance in rock and roll. It's timeless trash from when yesterday was tomorrow. Does that make sense? Hey, let's not dwell on it. Then we have some Torchy. Oh, yeah, baby. And these are some nice little reprints. Granted, they're in black and white, but the price was right. And then we're going to wrap things up with some Jungle comics. And speaking about the price being right, well, this one was missing its first page, but as a 52-page book, well, that's still 50 pages of comic-y goodness. And for what I paid, it was well worth it. Where do I find all of these fabulous comics? Why, my local comic book shop. Check out your local comic book shop and see what they have on tap for you. You never know. Every week, it's something different. I'm Jason Mink, and I hope to see you this Sunday for Comics for Breakfast. It's going to be a good one. We're talking DC silliness, folks. That's right. You won't want to miss it. So from us to you, cheers.